How to find your authentic voice. When you know how to express your vision, passion, and articulate who you are in this world, there are so many doors that open. Welcome back. It's Anita. These are my creative studio sessions where I share ideas on living a brave, meaningful, and creative life. And today let's talk about how to find your authentic voice. I want to start by sharing a beautiful poem from the poet Hafiz. There are so many gifts still unopened from your birthday. There are so many handcrafted presents that have been sent to you by God. The beloved does not mind repeating, everything I have is also yours. There are so many gifts, my dear, still unopened from your birthday. The topic for this video, how to find your authentic voice, came to me a couple weeks ago, and at the time I was like, this is really impractical. How do you even explain to someone, and who is going to even want to know how to find your authentic voice? It's such an elusive, intangible thing. But then I was at an event last night and 2 people asked me about finding your voice and expressing your authentic self. So I was like, okay, this is it. So first, we're going to talk about 4 aspects of your voice. Since your voice is not just your writing voice or your speaking voice, it's so much more. It's a part of who you are as a whole person. And then we're going to unpack and go into 6 different ways that you can find your authentic voice. The first aspect of your voice is your writing voice. If you write blogs or you write captions on Instagram, you're probably familiar with this idea, and you probably follow people that seem to have a very distinct writing voice. When they write, there's personality, there's life, there's character. It doesn't feel flat. And if you ever wrote in school, you know what that also felt like as well. It feels very dry. It's almost like you have to tone down who you are in order to fit the standard that your English teacher is asking for. So my writing voice is something that I've been developing for a long time, and I'm still growing into it. And so I love being able to express myself writing creatively. And it's given me a lot of power and confidence when I can go on Instagram and I can know that whatever I'm going to express is going to come out the way I want it to. This is something that can be built the more that you write. And I just want to encourage you, especially if you want to be a writer or you just want to be a stronger creative, you can develop your own unique writing voice. It's something that every single writer finds through practice, and it's something that just comes from writing lots, figuring out what reflects who you are. And also, you can have more than one writing voice. I notice that when I'm feeling super poetic and contemplative, I'll write things that are poetic and I'll take my time with words. And then there's other times where I'm feeling a little bit more like ranty, like there's just something I've got to express. And then there's like the more calm Anita. And these are all, they almost sound like different people when I'm writing. And then there's also when I'm writing blogs that are a bit more practical and I'm trying to share tips. These are different voices that I can write in, and I used to feel like, oh, but if I want to be really poetic and artistic, I can only write in that way. Now I understand that, you know what, it's okay to have kind of my like how-to voice when I'm trying to explain something to someone. And then there's my speaking voice, which I'm going to talk about next, but then there's also my poetic voice. And generally I don't talk as poetic as I can write, but that's still part of my voice. The second aspect of your authentic voice is your speaking voice. This is something that is like, oh. So I love thinking about our speaking voices and learning how to build our speaking voice, because this is something we just kind of take for granted, right? Like we say some people are soft-spoken and some people are loud. But that's not entirely true, because especially if you're more of a quiet person, you probably have intimate friends with whom, when you talk to them, you can be loud and passionate and so full of life. But when you're talking to people that you don't relate with, maybe you're more soft-spoken and just quiet. So our speaking voice, again, is something that we can flex, and it's also something that you can grow into. I actually have been learning how to sing, and it's made me do these exercises. And as soon as I started learning, I could just feel that actually this was changing my speaking voice, because it was also teaching me to project and to flex these different parts of our vocal muscles. This is a whole other thing if you want to learn about speaking confidently, but this is actually something you can learn, like how to speak confidently. And then they're speaking confidently to other people, they're speaking confidently in meetings and to cameras. And then there's also just like your normal speaking voice, and how I speak in vlogs is sometimes different than how I speak in these videos. And again, it's okay to know that you have different tones and different characters depending on who you're speaking to or what context. But the beauty is when you actually have found your speaking voice, you can flex confidently. You can flex down and be calm, and you can also flex up and project and speak to a crowd of 5,000 people and be really passionate. The third aspect of your voice is what I would call your artistic voice, or more commonly known as your creative style. Since on my YouTube channel I talk about creativity and being a creative, this is something that is important to all of us. And this is also really intangible. I think we can see it when we find someone on Instagram and they have like this beautiful Instagram account. We're like, wow, it just feels like there's a lot of intention to it. So there are different elements of your artistic voice depending on what medium you create in. This could be things like color, how you edit your photos or edit your videos, and what colors resonate with you. Then there's also things like editing. This is part of your style. Do you edit very quickly, or do you edit with a slower pace? And there's things like how you film, and also even just what you portray. Do you like to put nature out, or do you prefer people and portraits? These are all elements of your artistic style, and depending on your medium, like if you do pottery, there's colors, there's shape, there's form, there's design. There's so many parts of your artistic style that are not just like your actual speaking voice. But I consider this part of your voice, because the more that you find your artistic style, the more that you'll discover that this is part of how you express in the world. And it's also, again, something that you can find and that you can flex and develop. The fourth aspect of your voice is what I'll call your lifestyle voice. This is how you choose to live, the choices that you make. And there's an element of communicating your choices, but sometimes we don't even need to communicate it. We just be who we are. So I consider this part of your overall voice as well, because someone who is living authentically, who has a lifestyle that authentically reflects what they want to put into the world and where their heart is at, they also tend to live very intentionally. The choices that they make for what foods they eat, how they dress, where they live, what they do for a living, these are all part of their voice and how they express themselves. Now let's talk about 6 ways to find your authentic voice and grow into it. The first step is to increase the variety of what you put into your life. Seek inspiration, read different kinds of books, watch different YouTube channels. Basically, make a conscious choice to look for different things to put into your mind, into your spirit. So it could be something as simple as going on Instagram and looking up different hashtags for things that you're interested in and getting that inspiration. When I first got my drone, I didn't really follow many drone Instagram accounts or watch very many drone videos on YouTube, and so I went on a hunt to look for inspiration. And I can also notice when I've kind of run dry from inspiration, I actually make it a point to go on YouTube and be like, Anita, you have to watch more drone videos, because the way that my drone filmmaking is going to get better is from seeking inspiration. I need a variety of input, because that's when I can figure out what it is that resonates with me. I can see, okay, this is what this person's doing, this is what someone else is doing. What is my style? What is going to be my artistic voice as I express myself through a drone? So it's the same thing with writing. Read different genres, read poetry, and then read nonfiction, read science fiction, and get a feel for how different people express themselves. Even within the fiction genre, there is so much variety for how authors describe scenes and develop characters. So the more that you read, the more that you're going to hone in on your writing style and find what resonates with you. So when you're seeking inspiration, make sure that you also seek inspiration in the 4 different aspects I talked about. So your writing voice, your speaking voice, your creative style or your artistic voice, and your lifestyle choices. Seek inspiration in all of these areas and fill yourself with new ideas. The second way to find your authentic voice is to consider what resonates with you and what doesn't. Once you have soaked in all of this inspiration, I want you to actually think about what it is that you like about something and what it is that you don't. So when I was finding my visual style and color style on Instagram, I saw a lot of people who were doing that moodier style that we often see. And a part of me felt like if I wanted to be successful on Instagram, I needed to have an account that looked like these people's account. However, once I actually tried editing my photos the way other people did, it was really funny because I actually was like, I can't do this. It makes me depressed to look at my original photo and look at the new one that has been edited in a moody style and realize that this is so not me. Like, I just can't do it. And so it was through that practice of looking at things and finding what I liked that I started to realize what I wanted and what my creative voice, my artistic style would be. And that's when I realized that I identified more with travel, adventure, like GoPro style editing or landscape photography, just really vibrant stuff. But it was through that process of actually considering, once I've absorbed all of this information, figuring out what it is that I like and what do I like about it. So the more that you do that, the more that you're actually going to be able to hone in. It's not enough to just like watch 20 different YouTube channels and be like, all of these people are doing great. I don't know what I want to do. You have to actually figure out like, okay, what are my top 3 favorite YouTube channels and why? I've done that. There are YouTube channels that I follow that I'm like, they're doing amazing. You know, they're really successful on YouTube, but it's not quite me. And then there's other people that I'm like, oh, as soon as I find them, I'm like, yes, this is the direction that I want to move in. It doesn't mean that you want to copy them, because I know that if you are here, you want to develop your own style, and this is all about finding your own voice. But as you do this step 2, you're going to find that, okay, you're just going to get clarity on what you like and what you don't like, and it's going to be a step forward to finding your authentic voice. The third way to find your authentic voice is to put yourself in environments where people don't know you. If you're an introvert, like I am sometimes, this will be uncomfortable, but I promise you, this is so good for finding your authentic voice. And if you're really serious and passionate about living a life that is brave, creative, and meaningful, you're going to have to practice putting yourself in environments where you don't know people. And I promise you, it's actually really easy once you get the hang of it. So I find the easiest way to just like thrust myself in a new environment and be inspired and learn to articulate myself is to sign up for a new class or to join a community. So this summer, I joined an open water swimming group that swims in Lake Ontario in the Toronto area. And this was the first time in a while that I had like purposely put myself in a completely new environment. And this was a completely different genre from what I normally do. Like, this had nothing to do with creativity. It was just about swimming. And 90% of the people there were over the age of 40, I would say. A lot of them were even retired, and so I really stuck out like a sore thumb. But I just embraced it. After the swimming, people would go out for coffee, and this was just part of the social aspect of this community. So I'd go out and I literally, like, I remember buying coffee and like forcing myself to sit down beside people and just join in on the conversation and listen. And honestly, it was so inspiring to hear their stories, and it also forced me to express myself and find my speaking voice again, and to articulate myself and to find my passions. So when you put yourself in new environments where you have to talk to new people, it is a good thing because, especially for your speaking voice, it's going to give you an opportunity to flex. The fourth way to find your authentic voice is to speak up. You have to get in the habit of speaking up. If you are watching this, I know that you are mature enough to overcome any kind of tendency to stay in your comfort zone, and you just have to practice expressing yourself. It is a muscle that you can build. Would you believe that when I was little, I was so shy, I didn't want to go to the cash register and like order a drink for myself. My dad purposely made me go, this was like at McDonald's, he purposely made me go and buy something and ask the cashier for something so that I would talk to people. And nowadays, it's like no big deal for me. I talk to new people all the time and it doesn't faze me. But there was a period, especially in university, where I really had to flex the muscle of expressing myself and speaking up. And so wherever you're doing in life right now, whether you're a student, whether you're with kids, or you're married, or you're working, find opportunities when you notice that you're shutting yourself down and you're not really expressing yourself. These are the exact moments where I want you to speak up. Just learn to express your thoughts, your emotions, your passions. Learn to talk about the things that you're passionate about. It's really good for you and it's healthy and it's going to get easier. And it means that as you progress on this route of living your authentic life, it's going to get easier and easier just to tell people like, no, that's not who I am. This is what I want to do. This is the kind of job I'm going to go for. This is where I'm going to live. And there you go. The fifth way to find your authentic voice is to separate yourself from other people's expectations. This is about learning how to build healthy boundaries around yourself. Boundaries is something that I've really had to learn in the last year and a half, and it's been so helpful. It's about understanding where someone is a separate person and I am a separate person, and where we come together, but where we also have to remain separate people in order to be healthy. So consider your boundaries between you and your family, you and your friends, and even you and your work. The thing that has really helped me to build healthy boundaries and separate my desires from other people is to have a strong relationship with God. If you don't believe in God, that's okay. You can consider it like your internal soul compass. I believe that there's a voice of truth and love inside, or you could say outside, of every single one of us that is guiding us. And the more that I connect to that source of unconditional love and I get my sense of approval, acceptance, and direction from God, the more that I can say no to people confidently without turning them down rudely, but just being like, you know what, that's not going to serve me in this season right now. I have to focus on other things. So I really encourage you to develop a relationship with this higher power of your understanding. I call it God, because it's so helpful in helping you express yourself. Because the more connected you are to your internal sense of direction and vision, the easier it is to say. The sixth way to find your authentic voice is to practice. Practice writing, practice speaking up, practice and flex your artistic voice, develop your creative style. This takes time. And then practice flexing your lifestyle choices and your lifestyle voice. Because the more that you do these things, the clearer you're going to get. It's such a process. I consider myself someone who today is very confident in expressing their authentic voice, both writing, speaking, and my artistic style. I'm still always working on that one, and also my lifestyle choices. But this isn't something that happened overnight. It came from this ongoing process, really like 10 years of waking up, of making mistakes, of trying different things and being like, that's not what I want, and then figuring out what I do want and really tuning in to God and listening to my heart. So I just encourage you to keep practicing. It's really crazy what happens to your soul the more that you get used to speaking your authentic voice and putting it out there. You'll just find that it's like there's this clarity inside you that just wakes up, and life becomes so much more magical and better. So that's it for this one. Let me know if you guys found this helpful, if you've got questions or other things you want me to talk about in these creative studio sessions. If you want to follow on my creative adventures and travels, you can join me over on Instagram or my blog, Anita Wingley. Thank you guys so much for watching and for sharing in this journey with me. I'll see you in the next one.